She was just an exhausted cleaning lady, struggling to survive. He was a millionaire CEO used to power and luxury. An unexpected encounter in a hotel bathroom changed everything. But what started as an accident quickly turned into a twist no one could see coming. Before diving into this unbelievable story, don't forget to subscribe for more heartfelt tales. The luxurious Royal Palace Hotel was in an uproar that Monday morning. The news of the arrival of powerful CEO Ethan Harrison, owner of the largest luxury hotel chain in North America, had put the entire staff on high alert. At 42 years old, with graying hair at his temples and a penetrating gaze, Ethan was known for his perfectionism and extremely high standards of quality. Olivia Parker, a 25-year-old young woman, could barely keep her eyes open as she pushed her cleaning cart through the corridors of the 18th floor. Her brown hair was tied in a disheveled bun, and deep, dark circles marked her delicate face. For 3 months, she had been working double shifts to pay for her younger sister's physical therapy after an accident. The clock showed 7:30 a.m. when Olivia entered the presidential suite to clean it. Ethan Harrison had not yet arrived, and she needed to make everything impeccable. Her muscles ached and her mind begged for a few minutes of rest. Upon entering the luxurious bathroom of the suite, the soft aroma of lavender and the silent environment seemed like an irresistible invitation. Just 5 minutes, thought Olivia, sitting on the closed toilet lid. Her heavy eyes involuntarily began to close, while her exhausted body finally gave in to the accumulated fatigue of weeks of intense work. What she didn't know was that her brief moment of weakness would coincide with the early arrival of Ethan Harrison. The CEO had decided to arrive earlier for an important video conference with European investors. Upon entering his suite, he went straight to the bathroom to freshen up after his trip. Ethan's cry of surprise echoed through the bathroom when he found Olivia asleep. She awoke startled, almost falling from the unlikely place chosen for her nap. Her brown eyes widened in panic as she recognized the man in front of her. I'm sorry, Mr. Harrison. I can explain, stuttered Olivia, quickly standing up and straightening her wrinkled uniform. Ethan, known for his difficult temperament, surprisingly didn't explode as everyone would expect. Something in the frightened face and deep dark circles of the young woman sparked his curiosity. Instead of immediately calling management, he raised an eyebrow and crossed his arms. "I'm curious to hear your explanation," he said, with a deep, controlled voice. Olivia took a deep breath, trying to control the trembling in her hands. That's when a peculiar aroma invaded her nostrils, making her involuntarily furrow her brow. "Sir, before I explain, forgive my intrusion, but the coffee you're drinking is of terrible quality," she said, surprising herself with her own boldness. Ethan looked at the cup in his hand, genuinely intrigued. "How can you know that?" "The aroma is unbalanced. I can smell notes of burnt beans and a hint of mold." "The beans were probably poorly stored and roasted at too high a temperature," explained Olivia, momentarily forgetting her embarrassing situation. The CEO placed the cup on the marble countertop and approached her, his blue eyes studying her intently. "You understand coffee?" "Actually, I have a very sensitive sense of smell and taste since childhood. I can identify ingredients and problems in food just by smell," she replied, beginning to realize the strange situation she found herself in. Subtle smile appeared on Ethan's lips. "Interesting. Very interesting. But that doesn't explain why I found you sleeping in the bathroom of my suite." Olivia felt her face burn with shame. She began to explain about the double shifts, her sister, the accumulated bills. To her surprise, Ethan listened attentively, without interrupting her. "Mr. Harrison, I know I deserve to be fired, but—" Olivia began, but was interrupted by a gesture from him. "I'm not going to fire you," declared Ethan to her astonishment. "In fact, I have a proposal for you." Olivia's heart raced. This embarrassing encounter was taking a completely unexpected turn. "What kind of proposal?" she asked hesitantly. "First, I want to do a test," he responded, picking up the phone. "I'm going to ask for different types of coffee to be brought. I want to see if your palate is as exceptional as you say." In the following minutes, while they waited, Ethan asked Olivia several questions about her life, her experience with flavors and aromas. The more she talked, the more he became convinced that he had found something rare and valuable in this cleaning staff member. The cart with different types of coffee arrived, and Olivia correctly identified the origin, the type of roast, and the problems with each one. Ethan watched, fascinated, as she precisely described the characteristics of each beverage. "Impressive," he murmured after the last test. "Olivia, you have an extraordinary gift, and I have plans for that talent of yours." At that moment, neither of them could imagine how that unusual encounter would completely change their lives. Fate had conspired to bring together two unlikely people through an embarrassing situation in a hotel bathroom. The day was just beginning, and with it, a story that would transform not only Olivia's life, but also the apparently untouchable heart of Ethan Harrison. The office of the Royal Palace Hotel Management was in absolute silence as Ethan Harrison explained his decision. Olivia, still dressed in her housekeeper's uniform, stood beside him, feeling the incredulous looks of those present. Starting. "Today, Olivia Parker will be our new culinary quality consultant," announced Ethan, his voice leaving no room for questions. "She will work directly with me in restructuring the hotel's food services." The general manager, Mr. Richard Miller, a middle-aged man with an austere expression, uncomfortably cleared his throat. "Mr. Harrison, with all due respect, but a housekeeper without any training in the field?" "I just witnessed something extraordinary," replied Ethan, giving the manager a stern look. "This young woman identified problems in our coffee menu that our specialists haven't noticed in months. Her palate is a natural gift that no university can teach." Olivia felt her heart beating hard against her chest. Everything seemed too unreal. Just 2 hours ago, she was sleeping in the bathroom of the presidential suite, certain she would be fired. Now she was being promoted to a position she didn't even know existed. "But she'll need training, proper clothes," began the HR manager, Patricia. "Arrange everything," interrupted Ethan. "I want her ready to start tomorrow, and as for her salary..." He turned to Olivia, his blue eyes meeting hers. "It will be 5 times your current one, plus benefits." Olivia felt her legs weaken. That amount would solve all her financial problems, including her sister's treatment. After the meeting, Ethan personally led her to see the hotel kitchens. The executive chef, Mark Anthony, a hefty man with more than 20 years of experience, greeted them with an expression that mixed curiosity and disdain. "So, this is the prodigy?" he asked, barely disguising his skepticism. "Exactly," replied Ethan. "And I want you to work together with her to elevate the standard of our cuisine." The chef twisted his lips in displeasure but didn't dare to object. Olivia could feel the hostility emanating from him, but she was determined to prove her worth. As they walked through the kitchen, the diverse aromas invaded her nostrils, telling stories that only she seemed able to decipher. "Chef, the hollandaise sauce is starting to separate," she commented, pointing to an apparently perfect pot. Mark Anthony rushed to check, and to his astonishment found that she was right. The sauce was about to break. His eyes widened in surprise, meeting Ethan's satisfied smile. During the following hours, Olivia was introduced to each section of the kitchen. Her sensitive nose detected past-date ingredients in the cold room, poorly stored spices, and even a batch of olive oil that was starting to oxidize. "How do you do that?" asked one of the kitchen assistants, impressed. "I can't explain it," Olivia answered honestly. "It's always been this way. Each aroma tells me a story, reveals secrets that others don't notice." At the end of the day, Ethan called her to his office again. Olivia was still processing all the changes when he made another surprising announcement. "Next week we have an important event in New York," he said, flipping through some documents. "The International Gastronomy Conference. I want you to accompany me." Olivia's eyes widened. "New York? But I've never left California. I don't speak. I don't know what to expect." "All the details will be taken care of," he assured her with a half smile. "Consider it your first big challenge." That night, when she arrived home, Olivia found her sister Rebecca doing her physical therapy exercises. When she told her everything that had happened, the two cried together. "It's like a fairy tale," exclaimed Rebecca, hugging her sister. "A very strange fairy tale," laughed Olivia. "Who could have imagined that sleeping in a bathroom would change my life?" But as she prepared for bed, Olivia couldn't stop thinking about Ethan Harrison. There was something in the way he looked at her, an intensity that disturbed her. It was as if he could see through her, seeing something that she herself didn't know. In his luxurious apartment, Ethan was also thinking about Olivia. There was something special about that young woman, beyond her extraordinary gift, a purity, an authenticity that he hadn't found for a long time in his world of appearances and self-interest. Fate had intertwined their paths in an unusual way, and now both were about to embark on a journey that would change not only their careers, but also their hearts. New York awaited them, and with it challenges and discoveries that neither could predict. The 4 days that followed were a whirlwind for Olivia. Suddenly, her peaceful life as a housekeeper was replaced by a frenetic routine of preparations for the trip to New York. Patricia, the HR manager, became her improvised mentor, guiding her through an intensive course in etiquette, business behavior, and even some basic lessons in business communication. "Remember, Olivia," Patricia would say while helping the young woman choose appropriate clothes for the event, "you're no longer just yourself. Now you represent the image of Harrison Enterprises." Olivia observed her reflection in the mirror of the luxurious boutique, barely recognizing the elegant woman staring back at her. The sophisticated dresses and high-heeled shoes were a completely new world to her. "What if I can't do it?" asked Olivia, the insecurity evident in her voice. "What if everyone realizes I'm a fraud?" Patricia smiled gently, adjusting the pearl necklace around Olivia's neck. "Darling, you have a gift that no one can fake. Trust it and trust yourself." Meanwhile, in the hotel kitchen, the atmosphere was tense. Chef Mark Anthony, still resentful of Olivia's sudden rise, made a point of testing her at every opportunity. "So, Miss Parker," he said with a malicious smile, presenting her with a tray of various types of cheese, "since your nose is so special, how about telling me which of these is unfit for consumption?" Olivia closed her eyes, breathing deeply. The aromas danced in her mind, telling stories of green pastures, damp caves, and maturation processes. Then a subtle, almost imperceptible odor caught her attention. "The brie," she answered, pointing to an apparently perfect cheese. "It has the beginning of contamination by penicillium." Mark Anthony's smile disappeared. He had deliberately included a slightly spoiled cheese, confident that she wouldn't notice. "Impossible," he muttered, examining the cheese closely. Ethan, who was observing the scene from a distance, couldn't contain a satisfied smile. Each day that passed, he became more impressed with Olivia's abilities. On the eve of the trip, Ethan invited Olivia to dinner in his office. He wanted to discuss the final details of the trip, but he also felt an inexplicable need to spend more time with her. "Are you nervous?" he asked, serving a glass of wine to Olivia. She accepted the drink with a shy smile. "A little, actually, a lot. All of this seems so surreal." Ethan observed her for a moment, noticing how she delicately smelled the wine before tasting it. Her eyes lit up when she felt the flavor. "Chateau Margaux 2015 vintage," she said, surprised at herself. "It's amazing how the aroma brings memories of a place I've never visited." Ethan laughed, delighted. "You never cease to surprise me, Olivia. But tell me, what worries you about the trip?" Olivia hesitated for a moment, playing with the edge of her glass. What if I'm not up to it? Everyone there will be specialists, renowned chefs, and I'm just..." "Just what?" interrupted Ethan, his voice soft but firm. "An extraordinary woman with a unique gift, someone who in a few days revolutionized the quality of our kitchen." Their gazes met, and for a moment the world seemed to disappear around them. Olivia felt her heart accelerate, confused by the intensity of the feelings that were beginning to emerge. Ethan cleared his throat, breaking the moment. "So Olivia, there's something I need to tell you," he said, his tone suddenly serious. She looked at him, curious and a little apprehensive. "The truth is that this trip to New York isn't just about the gastronomy conference," he continued. "I'm in negotiations to expand our hotel chain to Europe, and your presence, your talent, could be crucial to impress some important investors. Olivia felt the weight of responsibility fall on her shoulders. Why me? Why not take Chef Mark Anthony or some other specialist? Ethan stood up, walking to the window that offered a panoramic view of the city. Because you see, or rather, sense, what no one else can. You have the ability to identify excellence and mediocrity with a precision I've never seen before. And that, Olivia, is exactly what I need to ensure that our expansion maintains the quality standards I've built. Over years, he turned to her, his blue eyes shining with a mixture of determination and something else, something that Olivia couldn't decipher. "Do you accept this challenge?" he asked. Olivia felt a wave of adrenaline run through her body. It was more than a professional opportunity. It was a chance to prove to herself and to the world what she was capable of. "Yes," she answered, her voice firm. "I accept." Ethan smiled, a genuine smile that illuminated his usually serious face. "Great. Get ready, Olivia Parker. New York awaits us, and with it the beginning of a new era for both of us." As she left Ethan's office that night, Olivia couldn't imagine the twists and turns that awaited her. New York wouldn't just be a business trip. It would be the stage where her destiny and Ethan's would intertwine in ways that neither of them could predict. The plane touched down at JFK International Airport on a sunny spring afternoon. Olivia, who had spent most of the flight with her face glued to the window, could barely contain her excitement. New York, the city that never sleeps, stretched out before her like a dream come true. Ethan watched with a discreet smile at his companion's enthusiasm. There was something refreshing in the way she faced each novelty, her eyes shining with expectation. "First time in New York?" he asked as they walked through the airport concourse. Olivia nodded, still in awe. "First time outside California. It's all so different. Even the air seems to have another aroma." Ethan laughed softly. "Is your special nose already picking up the nuances of New York?" "Oh yes," she exclaimed, closing her eyes for a moment. "I can smell notes of roasted coffee, the soft aroma of fresh bagels, a touch of floral perfume. It's as if the entire city were a grand symphony of aromas." As they headed to the limousine that awaited them, Ethan couldn't help but notice how Olivia attracted looks. The elegant dress and confident posture she had acquired in recent days made her a dazzling sight. For a moment, he felt a pang of something he couldn't identify. Jealousy, perhaps. The journey to the hotel was punctuated by Olivia's exclamations of surprise and admiration. The Empire State Building, Central Park, the banks of the Hudson River. Each sight drew sighs of enchantment from her. When they arrived at the luxurious Plaza Hotel on Fifth Avenue, Olivia was left speechless by the opulence of the place. The golden lobby, the crystal chandeliers, the Persian rugs, everything exuded an elegance she had never experienced. "Mr. Harrison, Miss Parker, welcome," greeted the hotel manager, a distinguished middle-aged man. "We hope your stay is pleasant. The presidential suite is ready, as requested." Olivia froze. Presidential suite? Singular? Ethan, sensing her discomfort, quickly intervened. "There's been a misunderstanding. We'll need 2 separate suites, please." The manager appeared momentarily confused, but recovered quickly. "Certainly, sir, I'll arrange it immediately." While they waited for the new arrangement to be made, Olivia felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. "I'm sorry," she murmured. "I didn't want to cause trouble." Ethan looked at her kindly. "Don't worry, it was a reservation error, nothing more. Your comfort and well-being are priorities for me. I mean for the company." That little slip didn't go unnoticed by Olivia. There was something in the way Ethan looked at her, an intensity that went beyond the professional relationship. But before she could reflect more on this, they were informed that their suites were ready. Olivia's suite was a dream of luxury and comfort. A king-size bed, a whirlpool bathtub, a view of Fifth Avenue. She could hardly believe that this would be her home for the next few days. After refreshing herself and changing clothes, Olivia received a call from Ethan. "Be ready in an hour," he said. "We have an important dinner tonight." The restaurant. Chosen by Ethan was the legendary Le Bernardin, a 3-star Michelin establishment known for its refined cuisine. Olivia felt nervous as she entered the place, aware of the curious glances they received. Ethan guided her gently, his hand resting lightly on her back. The touch, though soft, sent shivers down her spine. "Ethan, my friend?" exclaimed an elegant man approaching. "It's been a while, yours, James," greeted Ethan with a smile. "Allow me to introduce Olivia Parker, my culinary consultant." Olivia noticed Ethan's hesitation in describing her. James, in turn, gallantly kissed her hand. "Enchanted, Miss Parker. Any friend of Ethan's is welcome here." As they were led to their table, Olivia couldn't help but notice an elegant woman sitting at the bar, observing them with interest. Her eyes, cold and calculating, seemed to pierce through Olivia. "Who is that?" Olivia whispered to Ethan discreetly. Ethan followed her gaze, and his expression hardened for a moment. "Victoria Spencer, an acquaintance from the past. Don't worry about her." But the tone of his voice suggested that there was much more to that story than he was willing to share. The dinner proceeded pleasantly, with exquisite dishes being served one after another. Olivia was in ecstasy, her refined palate catching every nuance of flavor and aroma. "So, Miss Parker," James said at one point, "how does such a young American woman become Ethan's culinary consultant? You must have an exceptional palate." Olivia exchanged a quick look with Ethan before answering. "Actually, it was a series of fortunate coincidences, but yes, I have a special sensitivity for flavors and aromas." "She's being modest," Ethan intervened. "Olivia has a unique gift. She can identify ingredients and techniques just by smell. That's why she's crucial to our expansion plans." James seemed intrigued. "Fascinating. Perhaps we could do a little test." Before Olivia could respond, a cold voice interrupted the conversation. "A test? How lovely. May I join you?" Victoria Spencer was standing next to the table, a calculated smile on her lips. Ethan stood up, visibly tense. "Victoria, what a surprise." "Oh, Ethan, darling," she purred. "New York is a small city for people like us. Introduce me to your new friend." The air around the table became charged with tension. Olivia felt that she was about to face her first great challenge in New York, and it had nothing to do with food. The air in Le Bernardin seemed to have grown denser with the arrival of Victoria Spencer. Olivia felt a shiver run down her spine as she noticed the penetrating gaze of the woman, who examined her from head to toe with a cold smile on her lips. Ethan, visibly uncomfortable, made the introductions. "Victoria, this is Olivia Parker, my culinary consultant. Olivia, Victoria Spencer, a former acquaintance." "Former acquaintance?" laughed Victoria, her tone heavy with irony. "Oh, Ethan, you've always been so diplomatic. I believe ex-fiancé would be a more accurate description, wouldn't it?" Olivia felt as if she had been punched in the stomach. Ex-fiancé? Ethan had never mentioned this. She looked at him, seeking an explanation, but the CEO maintained an impassive expression. James, sensing the tension, tried to ease the situation. "Well, since we're all here, how about that little test I mentioned? It would be interesting to see Miss Parker's skills in action." Victoria smiled, her eyes gleaming with a veiled challenge. "What a wonderful idea. I would love to see what Ethan's new protégé is capable of." Olivia felt the weight of the gazes upon her. She knew that this moment could define her credibility, not only before Ethan, but also before important figures in the gastronomic world. Taking a deep breath, she nodded. "I'm ready." James called the chef, explaining the situation. Minutes later, a tray with small covered plates was brought to the table. The chef, a middle-aged man with an imposing mustache, seemed intrigued by the challenge. "Miss Parker," he began, "I've prepared 3 dishes. Your challenge is to identify the main ingredients and, if possible, the preparation techniques, using only your sense of smell." Olivia closed her eyes, concentrating. The first aroma that hit her was delicate, floral. "The first dish," she began, "is based on scallops. I smell notes of vanilla and lavender. There's also a citrusy touch, perhaps yuzu." The chef's eyes widened, impressed. Olivia continued, describing the other two dishes with a precision that left everyone at the table speechless. When she finished and opened her eyes, she found Ethan smiling proudly at her. "Amazing!" exclaimed James. "In 20 years in this business, I've never seen anything like it." Victoria, however, didn't seem convinced. "Impressive indeed, but I wonder, dear, how a simple, 'What was your former job again?'" "Housekeeper," replied Olivia, raising her chin proudly. "Ah, yes," continued Victoria, her tone condescending. "How does a simple housekeeper acquire such knowledge? Or perhaps the question is, why is Ethan so interested in promoting someone so inexperienced?" The silence that followed was heavy. Olivia felt the blush rising up her neck, a mixture of shame and anger bubbling in her chest. It was Ethan who broke the silence, his voice loaded with a coldness that Olivia had never heard before. "Olivia's talent speaks for itself, Victoria, and your insinuations are as inelegant as they are unnecessary." Victoria laughed, a melodious sound but empty of joy. "Oh, Ethan, always the knight in shining armor. I hope you know what you're doing. After all, mixing business and pleasure can be dangerous." Before the situation could escalate, James intervened, suggesting they order dessert. The rest of the dinner proceeded in a tense atmosphere, with forced conversations and false smiles. When they finally left the restaurant, Olivia felt emotionally exhausted. Ethan guided her to the limousine in silence, his face a mask of concern. Inside the car, Olivia could no longer contain her questions. "Ethan, what was all that? Who is Victoria really? And why did you never mention you were engaged?" Ethan sighed deeply, running his hand through his hair in a gesture of frustration. "Olivia, there's a lot about my past that you don't know, things I prefer not to remember." "But now that past is right here in our present," she insisted, "and it seems that it's not going to simply disappear." Ethan looked at her, his blue eyes loaded with an emotion that Olivia couldn't decipher. "You're right. I think I owe you some explanations, but not here, not now. Tomorrow we have an important day ahead. The gastronomy conference, remember?" Olivia nodded, feeling a mixture of anxiety and expectation. She knew that there was much more to this story than Ethan was willing to reveal at that moment. When they arrived at the hotel, Ethan accompanied her to the door of her suite. For a moment they stood facing each other, the tension palpable between them. "Olivia," began Ethan, his voice soft, "I want you to know that no matter what Victoria or anyone else says, I believe in you, in your talent, in your potential." She felt her heart accelerate with the intensity of his gaze. "Thank you, Ethan. That means a lot to me." For a brief instant, it seemed that he was going to say something more, perhaps even move closer. But the moment passed, and with a nod of his head, Ethan moved away. "Good night, Olivia. Rest well. Tomorrow will be a big day." As she closed the door of her suite, Olivia couldn't help but think that, amid all the opulence of New York and the excitement of her new life, there was much more at stake than just her career. Her heart, which until then she had kept carefully protected, was beginning to open to possibilities that both frightened and excited her in equal measure. What did tomorrow hold for her in this city of lights, love, and intrigue? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain: nothing would be as before. The sun had barely risen when Olivia woke up, a mixture of anxiety and excitement bubbling in her chest. The International Gastronomy Conference would begin in a few hours, and she knew that this would be the real test of her abilities. As she got ready, carefully choosing an elegant navy blue dress that Patricia had selected for the occasion, Olivia couldn't stop thinking about the events of the previous night. Victoria's words echoed in her mind, mixing with the unanswered questions about Ethan's past. A soft knock on the door took her from her thoughts. It was Ethan, impeccable in a grey suit, his face a mask of professional calm. "Ready?" he asked, his eyes quickly scanning Olivia's figure. She nodded, trying to ignore the warmth that rose to her face under his gaze. "As ready as I'll ever be." The event was being held at the majestic Metropolitan Opera House. Upon entering the ornate lobby, Olivia was momentarily breathless. The place was filled with renowned chefs, food critics, and business people from the food industry from all over the world. "Remember," whispered Ethan, his hand resting lightly on Olivia's back, "you have a unique gift. Trust it." The next hours were a whirlwind of introductions, tastings, and networking. Olivia found herself tasting elaborate dishes, discussing culinary techniques with starred chefs, and to her surprise, being consulted on flavor subtleties that even experienced professionals couldn't detect. "It's incredible," exclaimed a famous American food critic after Olivia correctly identified the origin and preparation method of a rare type of truffle. "How did you acquire such an ability?" Before she could answer, a familiar voice loaded with sarcasm sounded behind her. "Oh, I'm sure Miss Parker has many hidden talents." Victoria Spencer was there, dazzling in a red dress that seemed made to draw attention. Beside her, a tall man with a serious expression watched Olivia with interest. "Allow me to introduce," continued Victoria, her smile not reaching her eyes. "This is Jonathan Bennett, one of the largest hotel industry investors in Europe. Jonathan, this is Olivia Parker, Ethan Harrison's new acquisition." Olivia felt the blood freeze in her veins. Bennett was one of the key investors that Ethan hoped to impress for the expansion of his hotel chain. "Enchanted," said Bennett, extending his hand to Olivia. "I've heard a lot about you in the last few minutes. Victoria was telling me about your unusual trajectory." His tone of voice made it clear that unusual was not necessarily a compliment. Olivia swallowed hard, aware that this moment could define not only her future, but also the success of Ethan's plans. "Mr. Bennett," she began, gathering all her courage, "I'm sure that Mrs. Spencer has provided you with an interesting perspective on my story, but I'd like to make you a proposal, if I may." Bennett raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Go ahead." "You're considering a significant investment in the Harrison hotel chain, correct?" asked Olivia. Seeing Bennett's nod, she continued, "Then I suggest a test. Choose any dish, drink, or ingredient at this event. If I can correctly identify its origin, preparation method, and any nuances you wish, you agree to give a fair chance to Mr. Harrison's expansion proposal. If I fail, well, you'll have every reason to question the wisdom of Ethan's recent decisions." "OE." Tense silence fell over the small group. Victoria seemed shocked by Olivia's boldness, while Ethan, who had approached in the middle of the conversation, observed the scene with a mixture of pride and apprehension. Bennett remained silent for a moment, his gaze evaluating Olivia. Then, a small smile appeared on his lips. "Miss Parker, you just made my afternoon much more interesting. I accept your challenge." In the minutes that followed, Bennett discreetly conversed with some chefs present, organizing the test. Olivia felt her heart accelerate, aware of how much was at stake. Ethan approached her, his voice low and urgent. "Olivia, you didn't need to do this. It's too much pressure." She interrupted him, meeting his eyes with determination. "Yes, I did. For you, for me, for everything we've built up to now. Trust me, Ethan." Before he could respond, Bennett returned with a small covered plate. "Are you ready, Miss Parker?" Olivia closed her eyes, concentrating. The moment of truth had arrived. As the aroma of the mysterious dish reached her nostrils, she knew that she wasn't just tasting food. She was proving her worth, her place in this new world, and perhaps, though she didn't yet know it, the heart of Ethan Harrison. The challenge was set, and Olivia was determined to overcome it, no matter what fate or Victoria Spencer had in store for her. The silence in the hall was palpable as Olivia closed her eyes, concentrating on the aroma emanating from the plate in front of her. Bennett, Victoria, Ethan, and a small crowd of curious spectators watched attentively, waiting for her analysis. Olivia breathed deeply, letting the aromas invade her senses. Immediately, a symphony of fragrances began to unfold in her mind. "The main dish is a meat," she began, her voice gaining confidence as she spoke. "Lamb, more specifically. By the softness of the aroma, I'd say it's from the northern United States, probably from the Washington state region. Bennett raised his eyebrows, impressed, but remained silent. "The lamb was prepared with an herb crust," continued Olivia. "I smell thyme, rosemary, and lavender. Yes, definitely lavender. A bold choice, but one that perfectly complements the origin of the lamb." She paused, concentrating more. "There's a sauce, red wine reduction, probably a Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon, and the garnishes. I smell the aroma of dauphinoise potatoes and grilled asparagus." Olivia opened her eyes, meeting the astonished gazes of those present. Bennett had an indecipherable expression, while Victoria seemed to have swallowed something bitter. "There's one more thing," added Olivia almost as an afterthought. "The chef added a subtle touch of black truffle to the sauce. By the intensity of the aroma, I'd venture to say they're Oregon truffles, harvested no more than 3 days ago." A murmur of admiration ran through the crowd. The chef responsible for the dish, who was beside Bennett, seemed to be in a state of shock. Bennett turned to the chef. "Is she correct?" The chef, still speechless, just nodded. "In every detail, sir. It's extraordinary." Bennett turned to Olivia, a genuine smile forming on his lips for the first time. "Miss Parker, I must admit that I'm impressed, not only with your ability, but with your courage in proposing this challenge." Ethan, who had been holding his breath during the entire demonstration, finally relaxed, a smile of pride illuminating his face. Victoria, on the other hand, seemed furious. "This proves nothing," she exclaimed. "A stroke of luck, nothing more." "On the contrary, Mrs. Spencer," replied Bennett calmly, "this proves a lot. It proves that Mr. Harrison has an exceptional eye for unique talents, and that he's willing to think outside the box to innovate in his business." He turned to Ethan. "Harrison, I believe we have a lot to discuss about your expansion plans. How about lunch tomorrow?" Ethan nodded, barely able to contain his joy. "It would be an honor, Mr. Bennett." As Bennett walked away, followed by an entourage of admirers eager to talk to him, Victoria shot a last venomous look at Olivia before disappearing into the crowd. Ethan approached Olivia, his eyes shining in a way she had never seen before. "Olivia, you were incredible. I have no words to express how proud and grateful I am." She felt her cheeks blush under his intense gaze. "I just did what needed to be done. For us. I mean, for the company." For a moment it seemed that the world around them disappeared. Ethan took a step forward, reducing the distance between them. "Olivia, But before he could finish, they were interrupted by a wave of people wanting to congratulate Olivia and ask questions about her extraordinary abilities. The following hours passed in a blur of interviews, tastings, and animated conversations. Olivia found herself at the center of attention, something she had never dreamed of. Renowned chefs asked for her opinion on dishes, businessmen made job offers, and journalists begged for exclusive interviews. When they finally had a moment of calm, it was already night. Ethan suggested they take a walk to clear their minds before returning to the hotel. Walking along the banks of the Hudson River, with the lights of New York reflecting in the waters of the river, Olivia finally felt the weight of the day fall on her shoulders. "Ethan," she began, her voice low, "I think the time has come for us to have that conversation about Victoria, about your past, and about us." He stopped walking, turning to face her. His eyes reflected the lights of the city, but also a vulnerability that Olivia had never seen before. "You're right," he replied, his voice almost a whisper. "There's a lot I need to tell you, about who I was, who I became, and—" He paused, taking a deep breath. "Who I want to be from now on." Olivia felt her heart accelerate. She was about to discover much more than secrets from Ethan's past. She was about to discover if what she felt for him was just professional admiration or something much deeper. The waters of the Hudson River flowed gently beside them, as if the city of New York itself was waiting to hear the secrets that were about to be revealed. The New York night enveloped Olivia and Ethan like a cloak of intimacy, the city lights reflecting in the calm waters of the Hudson River. They found a discreet bench by the river, away from curious glances and the bustle of the city. Ethan took a deep breath, his gaze lost in the distance. Where to start? He murmured, more to himself than to Olivia. The beginning would be good, replied Olivia softly, encouraging him with a shy smile. He nodded, turning to face her. Olivia, the man you know today is not who I've always been. There was a time when I was different, colder, more calculating. 10 years ago, I was obsessed with success and power. I built my hotel empire with relentless determination, often at the expense of personal relationships and even my own happiness. Olivia listened attentively, seeing a vulnerability in Ethan that she had never imagined existed. It was during that time that I met Victoria, he continued, a tone of bitterness in his voice. She was like me, ambitious, ruthless in business. We thought the same way, acted the same way. She seemed like the perfect match. Ethan paused, his eyes meeting Olivia's. We got engaged, but not out of love. It was a business alliance, a merger of empires. I thought that was all I needed in life. What changed? Asked Olivia softly. A sad smile appeared on Ethan's lips. Life has a funny way of teaching us lessons. A week before the wedding, I suffered a serious car accident. I was between life and death for days. Olivia felt her heart tighten, instinctively placing her hand over his. Ethan looked at their joined hands, as if that simple gesture surprised him. When I woke up in the hospital, he continued, Victoria wasn't there. She was in Chicago, closing a deal she considered crucial. It was at that moment that I realized how empty my life was. I cancelled the wedding to Victoria's fury and everyone else's shock. I spent the following years re-evaluating my priorities, trying to be a better man, a better leader. Olivia absorbed every word, beginning to understand the layers of complexity behind the man she thought she knew. And then, said Ethan, his tone changing, a different gleam in his eyes, on an ordinary morning in one of my hotels, I found a young woman asleep in a bathroom. A young woman who, without knowing it, would remind me of everything I had forgotten about passion, genuine talent, and the beauty of being authentic. Olivia felt her heart accelerate, Ethan's words echoing in her ears. Olivia, he continued, his voice now almost a whisper, you haven't just revolutionized our hotels with your extraordinary gift. You've made me want to be a better person. You've made me remember what it is to truly fall in love, not out of convenience or business, but for who someone really is. The world around them seemed to disappear. Olivia felt as if she were floating, Ethan's words enveloping her like a caress. I know there's an age difference between us, he said, a touch of insecurity in his voice. I know I'm your boss, and that complicates things. But I can no longer deny what I feel for you. Olivia felt tears forming in her eyes. All the doubts, all the moments of insecurity she had felt since meeting Ethan seemed to dissipate. Ethan, she began, her voice trembling slightly. When I met you, I thought my life had changed because I gained an incredible professional opportunity. But the truth is that it changed because I fell in love. With you, with who you are, not with the powerful CEO, but with the man I see every day, who cares, who encourages me, who believes in me. Ethan looked at her with an intensity that made her heart almost leap out of her chest. Slowly, he leaned toward her. Olivia closed her eyes, feeling his breath close to her face. Their lips met in a soft kiss full of promise and contained emotion. The world around them seemed to disappear, and for a moment, it was just the two of them, by the banks of the Hudson River, discovering a new chapter in their lives. When they finally separated, both were smiling, a mixture of joy and relief on their faces. And now? Asked Olivia, still a little breathless. Ethan held her hands, his gaze determined. Now we face whatever comes together. I know it won't be easy. There will be obstacles, people who won't understand or approve. But if you're willing, I want to try. I want to build something real, something true with you. Olivia nodded, feeling a courage she had never known she possessed. I'm willing. I don't know what the future holds for us, but I know I want to discover it by your side. As they returned to the hotel hand in hand, Olivia reflected on how her life had changed dramatically in such a short time. From an exhausted housekeeper to a recognized culinary specialist, and now in love with the man who had given her a chance when no one else would. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in her life, Olivia felt truly ready to face it. The rising sun painted the New York sky with shades of pink and gold when Olivia woke up the next morning. For a moment she lay there, recalling the events of the previous night, Ethan's confession, the kiss by the Hudson River, the promise of a future together. An involuntary smile appeared on her lips. Her reverie was interrupted by a soft knock on the door. Upon opening it, she found a messenger with an elegant envelope. Inside, a handwritten note from Ethan. "Olivia, I hope you slept well. Unfortunately, I had to leave early for the meeting with Bennett. Meet me for lunch at the boathouse. In Central Park at 1 p.m. We have a lot to talk about. With affection, Ethan." Olivia's heart accelerated. The reality of her new relationship with Ethan was beginning to settle in, bringing with it a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Determined to make the most of her free morning, Olivia went out to explore the city. Walking through the streets of New York, she allowed herself to dream of the possibilities that the future might bring. However, a shadow of concern hung over her thoughts. How would it be to work with Ethan now that they were more than boss and employee? And how would the business world, so full of sharks like Victoria, react to their relationship? Upon arriving at the Boathouse, a charming restaurant on an artificial island in the middle of Central Park Lake, Olivia spotted Ethan waiting for her. He seemed more relaxed than she had ever seen him, a warm smile illuminating his face when he saw her. "Olivia?" He greeted her, kissing her softly. "You look stunning." They sat down, and Ethan wasted no time in updating Olivia about the meeting with Bennett. "It was an absolute success," he said enthusiastically. "Bennett not only approved our expansion to Europe, but also suggested a partnership to develop a line of boutique hotels focused on unique gastronomic experiences, and he wants you as the main consultant for the project." Olivia almost choked on her wine. "Me? But I barely started in this world." Ethan took her hand across the table. "Olivia, your talent is undeniable. Bennett saw that, just as I saw from the first day. You have the gift of transforming gastronomy into a transcendental experience." They discussed the details of the project. Olivia felt a wave of gratitude and love for Ethan. He not only believed in her, but was willing to risk his reputation to give her a chance to shine. However, the conversation soon took a more serious turn. "Olivia," began Ethan, his tone changing, "we need to discuss how we'll handle our relationship publicly. There will be people who will question your competence, who will insinuate that you got your position for other reasons." Olivia nodded, the reality of the situation weighing on her. "I know. Victoria has already made clear what she thinks." Ethan sighed. "Victoria is just the tip of the iceberg. The corporate world can be merciless, especially with young women on the rise. We need to be strategic." They spent the next hour outlining a plan. They decided to keep the relationship discreet for now, focusing on establishing Olivia's reputation as a professional before making their personal involvement public. When they were about to leave the restaurant, Ethan's phone rang. His expression changed instantly when he saw the number. "It's from California," he said, concerned, "from the company headquarters." The call was brief, but enough to leave Ethan visibly disturbed. "What happened?" asked Olivia, apprehensive. "Problems," he responded, running his hand through his hair. "It seems someone leaked information about our expansion to the American press. There are speculations about us." Olivia felt a knot in her stomach. "How is that possible? Who could?" The answer came in the form of a notification on her cell phone. It was a link to an article on an American gossip website. The headline screamed, "Billionaire CEO and ex-housekeeper, scandalous romance or gold." Digger? The photos showed Olivia and Ethan holding hands by the Hudson River the night before. The article was full of malicious insinuations and quotes from close sources, questioning Olivia's integrity and Ethan's motivations. "Victoria," murmured Ethan, his voice loaded with anger and disappointment. It could only have been her. Olivia felt the world spin around her. Everything she had worked so hard for, the respect she had earned, seemed to be crumbling in a matter of minutes. Ethan held her hands firmly. "Olivia, look at me. We'll get through this together. I won't allow them to destroy your reputation or mine. We've fought too hard to get here." She nodded, gathering courage. "What do we do now?" "Now," said Ethan, his voice firm, "we go back to California. It's time to face this storm head-on." As they left the restaurant, Olivia knew that the New York fairy tale had come to an end. Reality awaited them on the other side of the country, and it would be a battle that would test not only their love, but also their strength, integrity, and determination. The flight back to California would be more than just a simple trip. It would be the beginning of a new journey, one in which Olivia and Ethan would have to prove to the world, and perhaps to themselves, that their love was true and that both deserved the success they had achieved. Los Angeles International Airport was bustling with its usual activity when the flight from New York landed. Olivia felt a knot in her stomach as she spotted through the airplane window a small group of reporters waiting in the arrival area. "They're here," she murmured to Ethan, who squeezed her hand reassuringly. "Remember what we agreed on," he said, his voice calm, but with a touch of tension. "Keep your head high, don't respond to provocations. We'll go straight to the car." As soon as they stepped off the plane, they were bombarded with flashes and shouted questions. "Mr. Harrison, is it true that you're having an affair with a former employee? Miss Parker, how do you feel about being accused of being a gold digger? Ethan, Victoria Spencer claims that you're having a midlife crisis. Any comment?" Olivia felt her face burn, but she maintained her composure, following Ethan through the crowd to the car that awaited them. Already in the safety of the vehicle, Ethan finally let out a sigh of frustration. "This is worse than I imagined. Victoria must have planted these stories in every tabloid in the country." "What will we do?" asked Olivia, the reality of the situation weighing on her. "First, we'll go to the office. I need to meet with the public relations team and the lawyers. Then," he paused, looking at Olivia with determination, "we'll give our version of the story." At the headquarters of the Harrison Hotel chain, the atmosphere was one of palpable tension. Employees cast curious and not so discreet looks at Olivia as she and Ethan headed to the main meeting room. The meeting was long and at times heated. The PR team was divided on the best approach. Some advocated an official statement denying any relationship beyond the professional. Others suggested acknowledging the romance, but emphasizing Olivia's competence. "I won't lie," declared Ethan firmly. "Olivia and I are indeed in a relationship, and that in no way diminishes her professional capacity or the integrity of our business decisions." Olivia felt a wave of gratitude and love for Ethan. Even in the face of adversity, he was by her side defending her. After hours of debate, it was decided that Ethan and Olivia would give an exclusive interview to a respected economic journalist, someone who could address the situation in a serious and professional manner. In the days leading up to the interview, Olivia faced judgmental looks and whispers in the hotel corridors. Some colleagues, who had previously treated her with respect, now barely hid their disdain. One afternoon, as Olivia was reviewing the menu of the main restaurant, she heard two employees talking in the hallway. You can bet she planned all this. Sleeping in the bathroom. Tell me another one. I bet she set it up to seduce the boss. And look what happened. From housekeeper to international consultant in a matter of months. Some have all the luck, huh? Olivia felt tears forming, but she held them back. She wouldn't give them the pleasure of seeing her weaken. The night before the interview, Ethan invited her to dinner at his apartment. Upon arriving, Olivia found the table carefully set, candles lit, and the delicious aroma of a slowly cooked ragu. "Are you cooked?" she asked, surprised. Ethan smiled a little awkwardly. "I tried. I thought we needed a moment just for us away from all this madness." During dinner, they talked about everything except work and scandals. For a few hours, they were just two people in love, sharing stories, laughter, and dreams. At the end of the evening, Ethan hugged her tightly. "Olivia, no matter what happens tomorrow or in the coming days, I want you to know one thing. I love you." And I'll fight for us no matter how difficult it is. Olivia felt her heart fill with emotion. I love you too, Ethan, and we're in this together till the end. The next morning, as they prepared for the interview, Olivia looked at her reflection in the mirror. She no longer saw the insecure young woman who had once slept in a hotel bathroom. She saw a strong, determined, and passionate woman, ready to face the world. Ethan entered the room, adjusting his tie. Ready? Olivia nodded, taking his hand. Ready. Let's show them who we really are. As they headed to the studio where the interview would be recorded, both knew that this would be a decisive moment, not just for their careers but for their love. The world was about to know the true story of Olivia and Ethan, with all its aromas, flavors, and above all, its authenticity. The studio lights were intense, almost blinding. Olivia took a deep breath, adjusting herself in the chair next to Ethan. In front of them, Daniel Roberts, one of the most respected economic journalists in the country, observed them with a penetrating look. "We're on air in 5, 4, 3, announced the director, signaling the last seconds before the start of the live broadcast. "Good evening, America," began Daniel. "Today we have with us Ethan Harrison, CEO of the Harrison Hotel chain, and Olivia Parker, his new culinary consultant. In recent weeks, the two have been at the center of a media storm. Tonight, they are here to tell their side of the story." Olivia felt Ethan's hand gently squeeze hers under the table, a subtle gesture of support. "Mr. Harrison, let's start at the beginning. How did Miss Parker join your team?" Ethan smiled, his gaze meeting Olivia's for a brief moment. It was, to say the least, an unusual encounter. In the minutes that followed, Ethan narrated the story of the meeting in the bathroom, the improvised coffee test, and the discovery of Olivia's extraordinary talent. His voice conveyed genuine admiration as he described her abilities. "Miss Parker," Daniel turned to Olivia, "many question your rapid rise. How do you respond to accusations that your relationship with Mr. Harrison influenced your promotion?" Olivia straightened in her chair, her voice firm as she answered, "I understand these questions, Daniel. If I were on the outside, I might doubt it too. But the truth is that my journey has been one of hard work and dedication. My gift for identifying flavors and aromas is something I've always had, but I never imagined it could be professionally valued." She paused, carefully choosing her next words. "My relationship with Ethan, yes, I can call him that publicly now, began long after my promotion. In fact, it was my work that brought us closer, that made us see in each other qualities that go beyond the professional." Ethan complimented. "Olivia revolutionized our quality standards. Her contribution to the company is measurable and significant, independent of our personal involvement." The interview continued, addressing topics from the international expansion of the chain to the challenges faced by Olivia as a newcomer to the corporate world. When Daniel mentioned the accusations made by Victoria Spencer, Ethan didn't hesitate. "Victoria is part of a past I'm not proud of. Our lives have taken very different paths. Her accusations are unfounded and frankly seem motivated by resentment." As the interview neared its end, it was clear that the narrative was changing. The couple that had previously been portrayed as a scandal now emerged as a story of recognized talent, deserved opportunities, and yes, an unexpected love. "One last question," said Daniel. "What's the next step for you, both personally and professionally?" Olivia and Ethan exchanged a complicit look before she answered. "Professionally, we're about to launch a new line of boutique hotels focused on unique gastronomic experiences. It's a project that combines Ethan's innovative vision with my passion for authentic flavors." Ethan continued, "And personally, we're building something together day by day. It's not always easy, especially under the spotlight, but we believe it's worth fighting for." When the cameras finally turned off, Olivia felt as if an enormous weight had been lifted from her shoulders. They had faced the accusations head-on, with honesty and dignity. As they left the studio, Ethan pulled her into a tight embrace. "You were amazing," he whispered. Olivia smiled, burying her face in his chest. "We were amazing," she corrected. As they walked hand in hand to the car that awaited them. Both knew that this was just one battle won, The road ahead would still be challenging, but they were ready to face it together. The future, with all its unknown flavors, awaited them, and they could hardly wait to taste it. 2 years passed since the interview that changed everything. The morning sun filtered through the windows of Olivia's new office on the 30th floor of the recently inaugurated Essence Hotel, the crown jewel of the new line of boutique hotels from the Harrison chain. Olivia observed the city awakening below, a cup of special coffee in her hands, a blend that she herself had selected. Her reflection in the glass showed a confident woman, dressed in an elegant suit, very different from the young housekeeper of 2 years ago. A soft knock on the door took her from her thoughts. It was Patricia, now her personal assistant. "Olivia, it's almost time. The guests will start arriving soon." Olivia nodded, feeling a mixture of nervousness and excitement. Today was the big day, the official inauguration of the Essence Hotel and the launch of her book, Aromas of Life, A Sensory Journey. Going down to the main hall, Olivia was greeted by a vision that still moved her. Dozens of tables exquisitely arranged, each representing a stage of her journey. From the simple home cooking of her childhood to the sophisticated dishes she now created, each table told a story. Ethan found her in the middle of the hall, his eyes shining with pride. "Everything is perfect," he said, kissing her softly, "exactly as you imagined." The guests began to arrive, renowned chefs, food critics, business people from the hotel industry, and, to Olivia's surprise, several of her former colleagues from the Royal Palace Hotel, including Chef Mark Anthony. "Olivia," greeted Mark, looking a bit awkward, "I wanted to apologize for everything. You proved your worth in ways I never imagined possible." Olivia smiled, genuinely touched. "Thank you, Mark. That means a lot to me." The inauguration ceremony was a resounding success. Ethan gave an emotional speech, recalling how it all began, and praising Olivia's unique vision that transformed not just the hotel chain, but the entire industry. When it was Olivia's turn to speak, she looked at the audience, seeing familiar and new faces. Her sister Rebecca was there, completely recovered and radiant with pride. Even Bennett had come from Europe for the event. "2 years ago, I was an exhausted housekeeper, sleeping in a hotel bathroom," she began, drawing laughter from the audience. "Today, I stand before you not just as a successful businesswoman, but as someone who discovered her true passion." She paused, her eyes meeting Ethan's. "I learned that true success isn't just in recognizing the flavors of life, but in fully appreciating them. Each experience, each challenge, each person we meet adds a new aroma to our journey." As Olivia led the guests through a unique sensory experience, tasting dishes that told her story, Ethan observed her with admiration. He knew he had found not just the love of his life, but a partner who challenged him to be better each day. The event was coming to an end when Ethan asked for everyone's attention again. Olivia looked at him, confused. This wasn't in the program. "2 years ago, I found something much more precious than any successful business," he began, walking toward Olivia. "I found someone who taught me to feel the true flavor of life." To everyone's surprise, especially Olivia's, Ethan knelt, taking a small velvet box from his pocket. "Olivia Parker, would you do me the honor of becoming my wife? Of continuing this journey together, discovering new flavors and aromas, facing challenges and celebrating victories, side by side." With tears in her eyes and a radiant smile, Olivia answered, "Yes, 1,000 times yes." The audience exploded in applause as the couple kissed, sealing not just their love, but a partnership that promised to transform the world around them. As the guests celebrated, Olivia and Ethan exchanged a complicit look. They knew that life still held many challenges, but they were ready to face them together, savoring each moment. The aroma of success hung in the air, but for Olivia and Ethan, the sweetest perfume was the love they had found in each other. A love that, like the finest of wines, would only improve with time. Dear listeners, we hope that Olivia and Ethan's journey has touched your hearts as much as it moved us while telling it. This story reminds us that the ingredients for a fulfilling life are love, courage, and determination. If you identified with our narrative, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like this one. Leave your like and share your thoughts in the comments. Which moment touched you the most? Remember, just as Olivia discovered her unexpected gift, you too might have hidden talents waiting to be revealed. Stay tuned, as we have many other life recipes to share with you. Until next time.